Welcome back to Nikki's Scrapbooking Adventures. Today on Calling Creatives, we've got Melanie here. Hey, Melanie.
Hi, Nikki. How are you today?
I am doing well. So today we are going to talk about our travel prompts that we suggested last time and hopefully did something with this time, right?
Yeah, hopefully, right?
Yeah.
Well, and I hope everybody that's listening was inspired to try and document something as well. I mean, if you did, be sure to leave a comment below because we want to hear what you were up to this past month, not just what Nikki and I have been up to.
Absolutely. And don't forget to check out last month's video too, because we had a special guest, Scylla from Scylla's Choice Bits of Bliss.
Yeah.
So make sure to check those videos out. We talked about purging and we talked about those travel prompts. So today we're talking about the layouts that we made. Did you make a layout, Melanie?
I did make a layout, and it's again a little bit different. I'm finding that with some of these stories that I'm telling, they're older stories, and so I don't have a ton of photos. And so I'm feeling like the non-traditional route is the route to go. So they're not necessarily going to be 12 by 12 layouts, but who knows if that will stick, right? So, but that's what I'm doing right now. How about you? Did you come up with something?
I did, and it was kind of a last minute thing, I'm not gonna lie. But I used my silhouette. I have no photo. So, we got some new inspiration today.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so which prompt did you choose as inspiration?
So I chose what I remember while going on road trips when I was little.
Okay. So you kind of alluded to some of that in last video. So I'm curious to
Mhm.
hear how you documented this.
So I did a 12 by 12. That's kind of where I'm at right now in life. I haven't even touched my 8 by 8 lately. And I feel like I probably should, but that's like smaller stories for my son. So 12 by 12 is for me. And I came up with this title. The title is massive, and you'll see in just a second. I used my silhouette to cut out the entire title. I used a new collection to me by Hip Kit Club, which is very similar to Pink Fresh. I think Pink Fresh actually designs for Hip Kit Club,
Oh,
which is
really?
kind
I
of
didn't
cool.
know that. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep. So they had a collection that was really about staying at home or traveling. Like you could kind of do it both ways. It was similar to their previous travel line before they stopped making scrapbook stuff. So, I did a combo because the colors were the exact same.
Oh, okay.
This is my layout. It's really hard to see the title except for the last word because it's outlined, and that's on purpose. So
Okay.
essentially, this song is what I remember when we were going down to Missouri in Branson on a trip to camp every summer. And in summer, Missouri loves to do road construction, and you always hit road construction every single time. And this is the song we would sing. You might want to cover your ears by the time you get to this part.
Okay.
Traffic is a drag. Traffic is a drag. Traffic is a And talking with my mom about this after I made this layout, I did not know that her and her friend actually made up this song.
Really? You thought it was a
Yes.
real song?
Well, I thought, it was just something from camp or whatever, but
Right.
I guess it was my mom and her friend who made it up.
Oh, that's so cool. So did you actually write everything you just told me as
Pretty
part of your
much.
journaling? Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
And my journaling is like along the
oh, okay.
side here, all the way around.
Okay. I was curious because I'm like, I don't see any spot for journaling, but I didn't notice that it was part of your border. That's a great
Yep.
idea.
So, and in camera, it's kind of hard to tell, but it's like orange is the little letters, and
Right.
then the background is kind of like a blue map.
Right. Right.
So the point is that you kind of start quiet and then you get a
Right.
little bit louder. So my letters here are popped up on foam. And then really popped up on phone and outlined is the bottom. So I was really trying to like make it obvious that you could just kind of get louder when you
Right. Right. That's a
the
very
song.
cool way to interpret sound on a layout. I've actually never really tried to do that. I mean, we tried doing it a little bit with exclamation marks and bolding, right? But
Mhm,
I love the idea that you also added dimension to express that. That's awesome.
mhm.
So do
Yep.
you have any photos at all of you on road trips?
No, my family was not big into picture taking. Like it's been like my generation that's really big into picture taking, and it's always the girls, and they're always posting on Instagram. So I don't even know that they're doing anything with their photos like I am.
Right. Right. Which will be interesting in 20 years from now to see what people still have, right, to go back and look at.
Right. I know
Digital is digital's not permanent.
right. And on Facebook, you can download all your digital photos, but I don't know how that works with Instagram.
Oh, right. I don't know. I don't think you can download them, can you?
I'm not sure. And honestly, my Instagram is all scrapbooking stuff. So I don't really
Yeah.
need to capture that because I already have the layouts.
Right. Which makes sense. Interesting. Interesting. Well, I do a lot of scrapbooking of my nephews and nieces, and it's partly for that very reason that I know none of my other siblings scrapbook. And so at least this way they will have something of their child when they get
Yeah.
older. I just haven't decided when I'm going to gift it to them. It may not be until I pass away, but we'll see. I have a hard time parting with my layouts unless it's a project I've deliberately made for some.
That, and like, who knows if you're actually going to get caught up by the time that they're 18, right? Like, if you wanted to do like a graduation gift, it would be kind of hard to get caught up.
I don't get enough photos to even do that. They're also not big like Facebook posters. So it's like I get little bits and pieces here and there, which to be honest is okay because I have 20 nephews and nieces. And yeah, so it's manageable with the little bits that I get, but it's quite funny because I'm actually just working on a bunch of layouts right now, and they tend to be of the same families because they're the ones that post. I'm like, well, sorry, you don't send Auntie Mel photos. She can't scrapbook. Okay. So how do you feel about this layout? Are you glad you documented it?
I am. And I think it's fun that my mom made that song. I didn't know that. So I was telling her about my layout and then she was like, oh yeah, I made that. I'm like, what? I didn't know my mom was so creative. Although I guess she's the quilt designer. Like she designs the fabric. So she is creative, but not poetic. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then another thing that I realized is while talking with her, I think the word is supposed to be jam instead of drag.
Oh.
So I'd already made the layout. So I added that to my, journaling. But I'm going to keep it drag because I think it's funnier.
I do too. I think it is funnier. And what's interesting, I was just going to say, this is definitely a core memory for you, right? Because you remember it after all these years. But it's also interesting how perhaps your core memories aren't as core as one would think, and that you can get details mixed up. All the more reason to scrapbook, right? So that we don't forget. Yes. It's not surprising though, because I've heard of things like eyewitnesses that have witnessed a crime, how quite often they will have different pieces of information or have different ideas as to like who the perpetrator was and stuff like that. And it's interesting how people don't, like our memories are not concrete, right? And that they can be influenced by other factors. It's quite interesting. I should have become a psychologist or something, I think, because I find that stuff so fascinating. But anyways,
maybe it could be a side gig.
There you go. Well, I documented from my childhood as well. So I did document more on the prompt about your childhood vacations and what they look like, specifically just general summer vacations. So not necessarily that we went anywhere or did anything, but yeah, what a typical summer vacation would look like for me. So a while ago, I had made this kind of flip out layout, I guess. I don't know if that sounds kind of bad, but anyways, it's like, I'll just show you. That's probably easier than trying to explain. So it looks like a little booklet again, and then it flips out. It fits in a 6x8 album. So there's, of course, the rings on this side, and then, the book will have photos and journaling. And I came up with this layout a while ago to document a story I told about Christmas traditions when I was a child. And so that's kind of why this is turning out to be this kind of a format, because I have a lot to say, but I don't have a lot of photos. And so I'm just calling this life stories. And they're not necessarily events. They're more overarching themes or patterns that have happened in my childhood, if that makes sense. So this one fits perfectly in there. And I had already made this. So I try and use up some of my SCT sampler kits that I have, like way too many of. And I had made this one time. I thought, you know what, I'll come up with some sort of story at some point to fill it. in. So I cheated this month. All I had to do was the documenting and pull out the photos, and I was pretty much done. So it does have an additional flip up on here, and it's got a picture of the swimming pool that I went to when I was a kid. Now this is a modern photo. This isn't the
Okay.
photo from when I was a kid, but it really hasn't changed that much. So which is quite interesting. Small town, right? It's been painted, but the building itself is still the same building as it was, oh, how many years ago now? 35 years ago. So it was interesting when I was trying to find photos, right? Because I went on the internet to try and find, which is what I encourage people to do. If you don't have photos of certain time periods, definitely go and see what you can find. And the minute I saw it, it was just like an instant flooding of my memories. And then the back side of the photo, I actually have a scrapbook layout that has all of these swimming badges on it. Like the actual badges are in my scrapbook. So I just took a photo of that to put in here. This was documented when I first started being a scrapbooker. So not like a fancy page. It literally is just these glued onto a creative memories page. And there's nothing written. There's no story. There's no anything. It's literally just like probably a more scrappy scrapbook, right? Where people would just post things in and not necessarily journal. This is a side note. That album is falling apart.
Oh no.
I was flipping through the pages and I'm missing things. Like they're completely gone. They're not even like sandwiched in the pages. And I've got things that have fallen off. And I was using those, well, you might not remember, but they were little photo squares, not the corners, but they were little photo squares. We used to call them splits, photo splits. And they just didn't hold up. The other thing that I noticed was that album was at a time period where I didn't print a ton of photos. I was a university student, had no money, and you had to, everything was, film, right? So you had to buy the film, develop the film. I mean, it would cost you, $15 for every roll, just about by the time you were said and done. And so I just didn't take a lot of photos. So the album is very weirdly set up. I have a section for family, and then I have a section for friends, and then I have a section of stuff for me. Whereas now I would probably put those in separate albums. They're like that. And then because I had this and it was a creative memories album, I've got blank pages thinking I would go back and fill in more details as time went on. So I'm tempted to redo the album.
Oh, like the whole album.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about like pulling things off and like making new layouts? Oh, you're not going to just like add glue?
Well, it's just because what do I do with these blank pages? I don't want to go in and add current photos to them now. They would look so weirdly out of place. And then I've got these gaps, like where literally stuff's missing. I don't even have it anymore. Like I just don't know where they are. So I'm like, I don't know what to do. It looks awful. Like it's just not an enjoyable experience. So, and then it was a creative memories album. So the pages are those, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like those strap hinge.
Yeah.
Right. So everything was glued on the actual page that's bound in the book.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And it's on both sides. So I'm like, I think some of them I could probably just trim off the cardboard plastic edge and put in a regular sleeve. So I might do that for the ones that I can salvage, but the ones that just look weird because I'm missing stuff or whatever, yeah, I think I might just redo them.
Can we just say like how far we've come as scrapbookers? Like we have plastic pages now, so that if stuff does fall off, it stays within the page protector, right? We've got these 3-ring binders where you can shuffle super quickly in between, the layouts. We also don't put our stuff on the page that it's bound on. We usually put it on, a backer. And then slip that into a page protector. So if something messes up with this one, I could easily fix it because I can just pull it out.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, part of that is creative memories kind of approach to it. And they did have sleeve protectors that you could slide over top of them. It's just it was an additional expense and I just couldn't afford it. So I'd much rather have bought more pages to do more pages than to buy the sleeves. So
Mhm.
to give them credit, there was that option. And you still can do that now. They still sell albums the same way, although they do now have pocket pages that you can put into their albums, which is kind of cool. But anyways, I think I might just do that. I have like a few pictures of my baby, like when I was a baby, and I'm like, well, I got more pictures I want to do, and I'd rather just have them all in one album anyways.
Mhm.
So I think I might just disband that one. Now the next album after that is more chronological, and it just kind of it works a little better, and there's not as much issues with it. So I'll just leave that one alone, even though I just have to laugh at some of the layouts. I'm just like, oh my
Can you
goodness.
get page protectors now for these older layouts?
I don't know if you can or not, because I know they changed their page size. But what I might, oh, I say this, but I'm not going to do it. I was going to say what I might do is just go back with some liquid glue and just kind of, like Janet from RTS,
Mhm.
where she just kind of tacks it. But that's a lot of books to go through. I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, if you're going through the one, just pick one day, you're watching a movie and you just kind of go through and
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, that might be what I do. But anyways, so I'm going to read my journaling because it's, well, for those of you that are interested, those of you that aren't, you could just fast forward and go from there. So when I think of summer vacation as a child, there are a few words that immediately pop into my head: friends, bikes, camping, and swimming. I pretty much lived at the local community swimming pool. I don't remember a summer where mom didn't purchase a season pass for the family, which usually covered July and August, as this was an outdoor pool. With a large family, the cost per use must have been marginal with how often we were there. Swimming lessons in the morning, Monday through Friday, public swim from 1 to 4 p.m., and then back again in the evening for another public swim from 7 to 9, Monday through Saturday. When I got older, I would also go for the lane swim that was typically from 6:30 to 7 p.m. Sunday was pretty much the only day we didn't make our way to the pool. We hopped on our bikes, already in our swimsuits and a beach towel around our necks, and made our way back and forth to the pool by ourselves. It was only a mile or two at the most. We'd always be early because we didn't want to waste one single minute of pool time. We didn't wear watches, and I remember how we would use the local payphone to call information for the time so we could count down until the pool opened. Can you imagine? I still picture that dialing, like 411 or whatever it was. Once it was time to leave, we tried to dry ourselves off as best we could under the hand dryers, as it could be quite cool to bike home in the evening with a wetsuit. The pool boasted a small plastic slide and 2 diving boards, which had controlled access by the lifeguards to ensure safety. When not in use, we used the time to practice diving for rings at the bottom of the pool. Other times we spent playing some sort of tag or trying different maneuvers in the water, like handstands and somersaults. We were usually enrolled in at least one session of swimming lessons each year. I believe knowing how to swim was important to Mom, given how often we camped near lakes. With neither her nor Dad being great swimmers, I think it gave her a level of comfort to know we could swim. The Canadian Red Cross had a swimming program that featured different skill levels. I managed to complete all the colored levels quickly and had hoped to move on towards gaining lifeguard credentials. However, I was too young to advance, and by the time I was old enough, I found myself no longer as invested. I still have some moments of regret that I didn't complete the training to become a lifeguard, which is quite funny now because I never really go swimming because I hate getting wet. Which sounds stupid. It's not the getting wet part, but it's like the wet swimsuit taking it off. I just don't
Mhm.
like that feeling. Anyways, quite funny. I become an old fuddy-duddy, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So growing up in a small town, we were so fortunate to have this facility. I'm so thankful that my parents were able to offer us the opportunity to learn to swim. I loved every minute of the time I was able to spend at the pool. Whenever I go swimming now, so many years later, whenever I do, because I can get past the getting wet. It brings back a flood of memories of those summer fun childhood memories. So that was it. Did I show the front
I
cover?
think
Front cover. That cover. There's the badges.
you did a good job of like describing the swimming pool, what you did there. I think it's funny. I remember always looking at the radio, like is it radio clock, where it's like
Yeah.
not digital
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
was encased in metal. So like
Uh-huh.
if something hit it, it wouldn't break.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. It's so funny too, because when I was looking at pictures on the internet, like the pool really hasn't changed at all in 35 years. I mean, I'm sure they must have done some upkeep on it, but
Mhm.
literally it was just like, wow, like it hasn't changed in that many years, which is quite cool. Now it was a brand new pool. at that time. Like they literally built it when I was there. But I have to laugh too. We were gone from home the whole time. Like it was almost like a daycare program, you know. My parents didn't worry about us. And as long as we came home for dinner, you know, that was all that mattered.
Yeah, we didn't even have to come home for dinner.
They were
So
okay with that, huh?
yeah, we had a concession stand, you know, at the pool. So we get a
Okay.
little extra spending money to get like a snack or something, you know.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah, it's definitely a core memory for sure. And like I said, I'm pretty sure my mom valued the money that she sent into it because it just kept us occupied for so
right.
much of the time. But anyways, I think
I
that is
can't
it
wait
for.
until my son is old enough to be able to ride a bike down to the pool.
Do you have one close by?
Oh yeah, like 3 blocks.
Oh, nice. Is it an indoor or outdoor pool?
Outdoor pool, and it's like run by teenagers. So, you know, August 1st, they like stop the hours. So you have to go to the other bigger pool across town.
That's so early. I always forget that school nowadays down here tends to start in August already. Wow. Yeah, because in Canada, you really only have July and August to swim in the summer outside because June can still be a little bit cool sometimes, but also teenagers are still in school, so they tended to be the lifeguards. So yeah,
Yeah, we're out May, and then we get in like mid-August.
right. Interesting. Well, I hope it works out. I hope it works out and your son gets that experience because it's pretty cool.
Especially being able to be independent. You know, you have a bike, you can go pretty much anywhere in town. I lived in a small town too, so like it took me 10 minutes on a bike to get from one side of the town to the other.
Yeah,
So you could go to the grocery store, you can go to a friend's house, you can go to the pool, you can go wherever on your bike, and it was great.
yeah, yeah. It was a ticket to freedom, that's for sure.
And now all these kids don't even want a driver's license, and I'm like, dude, you can get out of my house.
Too funny. Too funny.
Anywho, check out Melanie's video on Wednesday. We are going to talk about how to use tools in your craft room for extra inspiration. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you next time.